There's a reason why people who stop everything to help someone else in need are frequently considered heroes. That's because it's rare for someone to put the well-being of a stranger before themselves. But for some, there's not enough time or energy to devote to caring for those in need, especially if that someone is an animal. For a Danish man named Decan Andersen, putting others first was just second nature. After he spotted a wild critter at his apartment complex that needed help, he felt compelled to do the right thing, no matter what. What resulted wasn't just heroic, it was downright precious. Like most people, 37-year-old Decan Andersen of Denmark was used to seeing an array of wild animals around his home. Of course, not all of these encounters were always the same. In fact, the retiree was recently relaxing in his apartment when he decided to take in some scenery from his window. It was at that moment that something truly shocking caught his eye. As Decan looked out, he witnessed a 1-month-old baby squirrel fall from the roof of his apartment building. He watched in horror as the animal collided with a small branch on the way down before landing in the facility's garden. At that, Decan rushed downstairs to see if he could help what he assumed would be a seriously injured animal. His prediction was confirmed as he approached the squirrel. Striking that tree branch had left a pretty nasty gash in the little guy's side. When the baby squirrel's mother failed to retrieve him, Decan knew it was now or never. He had to make the decision to step in. So he scooped up the tiny creature and brought him to his apartment. Once upstairs, Decan phoned local wildlife officials to see what they could do to help. But while he was on the phone, his cat, Coco, was curiously approaching the injured baby animal. Decan simply didn't have time to stop what she did next. Instead of pouncing or attacking the baby squirrel as any other cat would do though, Coco did something completely unprecedented. She began to nuzzle and lick him. Decan couldn't believe his eyes. Clearly, his cat's maternal instincts had kicked in. Despite Coco's motherly affections, the squirrel still needed to be seen by a professional veterinarian. Decan drove the little guy to the closest clinic, where it was determined that he wasn't in bad shape at all. The lucky critter was sent back home with his rescuer soon after. Decan was more than happy to bring the baby squirrel, whom he named Tintin, back to his home to recover. And as the days went on, the teeny animal healed, and it was clear he was adapting well to his new domestic surroundings. Using a combination of cat milk for nourishment and an old sock to construct a makeshift t-shirt, Tintin began to recover at a rapid rate. It wasn't long before he made a full recovery. Not only was he friendly with Decan, but Tintin also took to Coco. Soon, it became clear that Decan simply couldn't just release Tintin back into the wild. It was starting to look like he'd found a new forever home. But there was just one problem. Tintin was a red squirrel. It was illegal to domesticate red squirrels in Denmark. Thankfully, Decan managed to get permission to keep Tintin at his home. It was a saving grace for the young animal's life. Decan watched as Tintin seamlessly became a loving member of the family. Of course, like all squirrels, he wanted to go outside at times. Thankfully, Decan afforded him that opportunity though. Tintin was always on a leash. Though Tintin received his fair share of fruits and nuts, he was granted full access to the fridge as well. That way, when he woke up hungry in the middle of the night, he could just go ahead and feed himself. Tintin was just another part of the family Decan already had with his 2 children. They all got along too. In fact, it was common for the family to document all of Tintin's wild adventures on the squirrel's social media outlets. Not only did Tintin love to snack on all kinds of foods from the fridge and take walks outside, but he happily cuddled up and studied with Decan's children. They each had plenty of time to bond with the little rascal. Meanwhile, Decan felt that Tintin was brought into his life for a reason, and he was happy to share his different exploits with the squirrel followers online. With so much negativity in the world, I thought it could help lift people up, he explained. Decan added, he makes people forget about their troubles for a moment so they can laugh and smile. He certainly brought light and enjoyment to me and my family. We have a special bond and are pretty much together 24/7. With thousands of followers worldwide, Tintin was able to find different ways to brighten people's days just by being himself. Scrolling through the reactions on his Instagram page made it clear, this sure was one popular little squirrel. It was clear that Decan and Tintin both had a positive effect on one another, and it was even more incredible that he fit in so well with the man's cat and children. Tintin might have had a rough start, but one thing was for sure, his life was much better now. Decan and Tintin's relationship is just astounding. Who would have thought they'd make such good friends? It just goes to show that putting others, even if they're wild animals, first always pays off.